This was insane. But what if there was a way to go a little bit deeper on something like this? That's where this show comes in. The Rankdown is a show where professionals in film and TV rank and break down some of their favorite scenes from their career. And today, well, this is Jack Gill.
Hey, I'm Jack Gill. I'm an action designer and stunt coordinator. Some of the most popular scenes I've done are in Fast 8, Venom, Date Night. Today I'm going to break down some of the most favorite stunts I've done in my career. Look out! This was the opening of the show, and we had 10 days to shoot this entire sequence. Originally, this was just a quarter-mile straight line drag race, and once we all kind of got the script, we wanted to have a Fast and Furious chase that beats all the other chases. Can't do just another drag race. We've seen too many of those. Let's make it big, long, lots of corners, lots of speed, lots of things they crash into, and they latched onto it, and then we started designing what you see on screen now. We wanted to give Havana a great wide scope look of what the city really looks like from the air and from the ground. It's very difficult to shoot 80 to 100 mile an hour speed chases in such a tightly compacted city. It was probably 10 square blocks that we had, and we would take over 4 at a time and then another 6 at a time. Everything we do is storyboarded, and I storyboarded the whole sequence, and I also directed this entire sequence. It's pretty much us just shooting everything, and then the first unit director and the studio interject all the actors' footage. And so it's a combination of all of us getting together to try and figure out what we want. I have a video editor that's editing every little piece of it as we shoot. So I can literally go back 5 minutes later, and he's got a rough cut of it, and I can see what I'm missing and what I'm not. It tells you what you need to make it a little more energetic and to pump a little more excitement into the sequence. We wanted Vin to be dealing with problems the entire time because he's got a car that is not as fast as the other car. He's got to be a better driver. So we interjected the fire routine to give us a little more problems within the chase. We knew we were going to have fire on the vehicle, but we knew we couldn't have so much fire that we don't have visibility for the driver, and we have lots of other problems with things that are burning on the car. So we put propane pipes that would give us fire that comes up and over the top of the windshield. Since there are already doors on this vehicle, it tends to wrap around and get inside. The driver was protected with a thing we call fire gel, but if you have long sequences, the fire gel then evaporates and then you can get burned. In one of the sequences, the fire really cracked the windshield, and we liked that, so we kept that in and kept replacing the windshield when we had to. The spin around 180 was because it got so hot on the stunt driver that he said, I don't know how much longer I can take this. We said, why don't you drive in reverse? Because the transmission that Vin's character puts in the car is a tractor transmission, and it really goes just as fast in reverse as it does forward. So the actual driver is on a pod on top of the car, and the steering mechanism is on the back wheels, and it looks like it's driving backwards. When we got into San Francisco, we really wanted to get the hills. We wanted to get some big jumps. This was a huge place that we found in San Francisco, and originally this was just gonna be a long jump of him going in the air and landing on the other side. But Robbie Madison, he's a really famous motorcycle jumper. When Robbie got there, Robbie said, hey, I can jump this entire thing and land on the downhill. What are you talking about? I said, it's like 150 feet. He goes, no, I've just gotta put the forks of my motorcycle on this motorcycle and we'll jump it. When he launched this thing in the air, everybody had their iPhones out and was just in awe of him making this long jump like this. It's all real. Once he's in the air, he can't alter his landing spot. He can alter where the nose is and where the tail is, but right to left, he has to be dead on line to land. If he had landed left of that, he'd have been right on top of those cars, and he can't change it. That would be catastrophic. He acted like it was nothing. He actually got such a long jump. Producers and the director said, we're gonna have the character lose the motorcycle and then have Venom reattach him to the motorcycle, which is a really added piece that kind of happened just because Robbie was doing such a big and long jump here. When you're dealing with a motorcycle rider that's not protected in a chasing like this, when we get into the really radical stuff, we do put helmets on them and pads. And realistically, we said, you might as well wear a helmet because we're gonna replace your head with the actors anyway. So let's go ahead and protect you as much as we can just in case this thing does go over. It's not cheap, but it's still there. Let's pause it right here. My daughter is in the foreground right there on the right, and that's me grabbing her and pulling her out of the way as we cannon these cars over. Usually in the stunt industry, it stays within families quite a lot because they're trained from the times that they're, 8 or 9 years old all the way to the time when they get into the business at 18. You want to have people around you trust your life with. Here is a great sequence. They wanted the motorcycle to make it through two cars that he actually couldn't really make it through. And special effects is gonna pull the cars only 6 inches apart. There's no engine there. These cars are lightened up. And also they're sitting on big, huge, flat pieces of steel that we put grease on the top of, so that when we hit them, I can push through them a lot easier than we could in normal life. Since we had two cars hitting on either side of the motorcycle, we came up with the idea called a double sidewinder crash, which is hitting stationary cars on the side of the road and crashing and going side over side over side. And we've never really done that before in anything that we've ever done, and we couldn't find it on the internet. But our two stunt drivers are protected in cages, and I'm driving the third car with a camera mounted to see the wreck. And I said, well, there's no cage in my car. He said, just get as close as you can get. The airbags are disconnected in my car completely. I'm in a full 5-point race harness, and I'm not wearing a helmet. You just have to kind of grit your teeth and bear it because you know it's going to be a hard hit, but it's not anything like it would be in real life. After the sidewinders happened, the whole crew was high-fiving everybody, and all the stunt guys were fine, and nobody had even a scratch on them, which it's tough to do with something as big as this. There's a different way that you direct comedy sequences as opposed to action sequences. In comedies, we're staying on the actors a little longer to get a little more comedy relief to it. And it's more about camera movement, the scenes breathe a little more, whereas in action sequences, you're coming on and off the actor fairly quickly. The preparation is still the same amount of time because the action is still very large and hard to figure out. We really wanted to have Steve Carell climb out onto the hood of this car as opposed to doing it on a green screen. So it was a lot more to this than what you normally see in an action movie with actors who are just on the green screen. This was 2 weeks of shooting because it was nights. Back then, it was not digital, it was film, and you have a lot of lighting to do. We were gonna shoot this entire sequence in New York, and then we find out the constrictions that they were gonna put onto us were gonna be so severe that we could only shoot about half a night to let all of the New York traffic back out on the streets. So the studio made a call and said, I want you to shoot everything New York-ish that you can get for the next 2 or 3 days, and then we're gonna move everything to LA because we just can't afford to shoot half nights here. When you have a time frame and a budget that you're kind of dealing with, you have to give them the most that you can for the time frame and the money that they want to spend. So there are always compromises you make, and you have to be smart with the way you shoot these sequences. There's a lot of different things that you do talk about way prior to when you shoot this stuff. You kind of break each sequence down as to what you need for safety aspects of it, because obviously we have 10 to 15 cameras for some of these crashes, and you have to protect the camera crews. So I, as the action designer, have to bring in things like concrete barriers and you put in front of camera, and sometimes we put parked cars in front of cameras, and sometimes we have to put remote cameras that aren't operated, and we do have disposable cameras that we know if they get hit, it's not that expensive. And so we put those in what we call crash boxes. We put them in harm's way. We can't put a $200,000 camera in harm's way because if it gets hit, that's a big hit for any studio, no matter what your budget is. Usually the cars that we know we're gonna hit, they're flood damaged cars that they really can't sell anymore, that don't run. If cars go spinning out of control, we've got crash cars around camera or around a building or in front of a store that these will hit first before they can get into something that would not be great for any of us. When Steve Carell takes off in this Audi, he goes flying in and slams into another car. We thought one car was just gonna pull the other car backwards, attached with a chain. But what really happens is when you drive backwards, the other car starts doing S-turns behind you and going right and left, and you really get no speed and you have no control. So we said, let's try and build two frames that we stick together and we can disconnect them when we want to disconnect them. And the actual steering mechanism is gonna be on the rear end of the taxi cab. But it's a long train now and very difficult to steer in and out of other cars. So we put steerable wheels on the back of the Audi as well, and it's something that took a long time to try and figure out.
John, cars don't fly!
So this is when we're stealing a $3 million car and trying to jump it from high-rise to high-rise. That really is a $3 million car, and there's only one of them that they gave us. It had diamond-encrusted headlights. It had everything you can think of. They said you can't scratch it, you can't touch it. If anybody gets in it, everything metal has to come off. So we had to make other versions of this car to do what we needed to do with it. We bought Porsche Boxsters, which are essentially the same frame, and we handmade a body that fit over the top to then do all of the action that you see in this sequence. With the hero cars, I like to have at least 6 of each and every car so that we can do 2 and 3 takes to get exactly what we want. What you see here is the $3 million car. He gets in it and he starts to drive out of frame, and that's it. The rest of it is not the $3 million car. Most of this is all the stunt guys, but we brought the actors in for pieces of this. Jason Statham was going to do the part where he leaps over the car, tucks and rolls and lands and comes up shooting. And I said, look, the car's going to come in pretty fast. Once we did it with the stunt double, Jason did exactly the same thing and was just as agile. And there's a lot of people who are very unathletic that want to do their own stunts, and you have to go back and say, we're not going to advise it, it's not a good idea. There's other people who are super athletic, and you still want to say, you're going to go overboard here, and if you get hurt, we're all in trouble. You see him jump out of the window. Originally, they said, we're never going to do real jumps. It's all going to be CGI. Take them through glass windows. That's it. And then Spiro Rosatos, the team leader of our whole Fast franchise, he came up with the idea of let's build a 3-story set where we can actually jump cars out and get real glass going through the air and a real car flying through the air. We'll just jump on the boxes and just make the buildings look different every time. So the car flying through the air is real, it's just nobody's in it. A lot of this stuff, it worked great, but like one of these times we launched the cars out, it landed short of the boxes and destroyed the car. A lot of things don't go absolutely perfect, and it's great to have backup cars, but the thing that really makes these stunt pieces work so well is the fact that they give us the time to rehearse it, to get all the kinks and all the problems worked out in rehearsal, so when you go to shooting, you know exactly what's going to happen. And it makes it much more safe for all of the people that were in that art gallery. They knew exactly what the car was going to do, so you can put the stunt people really close to a real spinning car with really a lot of stuff flying in the air. And that kind of stuff I think we all live for, because it makes the audience viewer that's sitting in the seat feel like they're part of the sequence, not that they're just watching a bunch of CGI and they get lost in it. I think the fact that it's real gives the audience viewing member something where they think they were part of the sequence. Luckily, we're all starting to work hand in hand with CGI, and they're saying, let's do as much as we can in reality, and then we'll try and make it as real as we can in CGI as well, because the stunt industry is such a small and controlled industry that you know everybody that's in the business. And when something is big, it just excites me, because I know how much trouble they went through to get it done. And what really irks the entire industry is the fact that we don't have an Oscar for our abilities as action arrangers. What I'm trying to do now is to get the studios, publicity firms to get involved, because Marvel and Universal and Disney all are putting out a lot of action movies. And I think if we could get them involved in saying, help us get a category, maybe it'll happen. So hey, remember, it's Jack Gill, and thanks for having me here. We had a great time talking. I hope you enjoyed some of this stuff, and if you can, try and push the Academy to get an Oscar category for stunt people. You can write, email, call, anything the Academy of Motion Picture Arts and Sciences. We need an Oscar category for action.